Okay. Also get an opportunity to understand how to get a grant from NCHEA. We do have multiple grant cycles, and so hopefully this information will be useful for you now. And if not, then maybe in the future you can keep it in mind and it will come in handy. Just a little roadmap. I'm going to introduce you to NCHEA's mission, and then I'll share with you the specifics about the collaboration grant, because I know that's the meat and potatoes that you all came to hear about today. And I'll also share with you another program that we have, Conversation with Colleagues, that hopefully will inspire you to get together with colleagues across our campuses and talk about potential partnership opportunities. So let's jump right in. NCHEA was started in 1990. It is a consortium between CSU San Marcos, Palomar College, and Miracosta College. The intent behind this collaboration was really to try to figure out how to best serve North County students in their transfer process. And so when CSU San Marcos was first getting started in the CSU system, our vice president, one of the vice presidents at Miracosta, reached out, grabbed a couple folks, and the next thing you know, they're creating pipelines to where our students are now able to transfer pretty easily to CSU San Marcos. And over the years, the last 30 years, we've really focused on student transfer success as one of our primary top initiatives. So we do a lot of things, but the number one thing is we identify areas to collaborate. We want to bring together people from our tri-campus communities together to help serve all of those students and to introduce them to the type of resources and programs that we have available to them. Every single additional kind of tenant here helps to serve these areas of collaboration. So establishing priorities about our cooperative ventures and identifying potential funding and coordinating member institution activities and designing and implementing processes all really are focused on how can we bring together people from all three campuses so that we can collaborate and grow regionally, grow together regionally. So here's how we do what we do. Over the years, we have conversations with colleagues where we invite you to have a meal on us. And I'll share a little bit about that more towards the end of the conversation. We also have semesterly collaboration grants. So every semester we give away up to $3,000 collaboration grants to partnerships that serve all three campuses. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. Since the pandemic, we've moved into regional conferences, and last year we had several digital conferences that brought equity and anti-racism to our region. So that's something that is also on the table in terms of an idea that you might want to invest in. And we've been growing our social presence since we've all been online, working online, and learning online, teaching online. We've turned to platforms like Instagram and Facebook to help grow our visibility. So we do have social justice, social media and social justice advocacy campaigns that we do on Instagram. We'd love it if you would add us. We just hit 100 followers, which is really exciting since we just started. But let's get into the meat and potatoes, because I know you are here trying to figure out how can we successfully apply for a NCHEA grant and get $3,000 to spend on an activity or an event that serves our students. Here are a couple highlights. Right now, we're looking for grant activities that will be held virtually. So all of our campuses have different vaccination policies and procedures. They're in different situations. We want to try and provide the safest way for our students to collaborate together. We see the digital as being the space to do that. So we're looking for digital projects. We're also looking for partnerships between all three campuses. So your grant proposal needs to have a partner from each campus. And one of those individuals will be the grant lead or the grant director, who will take kind of the responsibility of applying, submitting the application on behalf of the group, and then also telling us what the outcomes are and submitting the final report when the grant is completed. We have $3,000 that we award to projects. And so that's a nice little chunk of change that you can put towards something. If you have funding from other sources, that's perfectly okay too. Or we can be your only source. That's worked out as well. So collaboration grants happen in November and April. So November 1st and April 1st are our deadlines for our project proposals. And you typically know whether or not you receive the grant within 7 to 10 days after our monthly board meeting for that month. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. And then you have a year to use that funding to implement your activity and plan your activity and make sure that it goes off successfully. So I'll stop here for a moment and I'll just ask like how you all are feeling. Do you all have any questions about the grants?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if you are funded or if you receive the grant, the champion of that grant or are there responsibilities regarding reporting back a certain way? Is it like kind of like an annual report? Do you need data, like things that you should be, keeping track of in regards to maybe multiple events or just one event? There's a lot of questions that I have.
I love it because as we get into the next couple of slides, I think that they will answer the majority of your questions. So first, our grant projects are single projects. And so we only support the one event and we're looking to support a single event. So not an ongoing series of events. The grant director does have the responsibility of keeping track of the outcomes. And so how did the money get spent? What receipts are there? If there were guest speakers, you'll have some forms that you'll fill out for guest speakers. And there is a grant report that's due 2 weeks after the event goes off. And that way we can have track of that and we can put that into our final outcomes for the year as well. So let's talk a little bit about what you can use the grant for, because I think this is a big one, especially in digital times. Last year, we approved 2 grants, and typically we approve 5 or 6 grants, a semester. And so for us, we were curious about what some of the challenges were. And some of the feedback that we received is, well, what can we use like the money for? Because this is a nice chunk of money and we don't, right now everything is on Zoom, like what can we do? We encourage you to pay speakers, buy swag. We had a grant last year that was a math competition and they bought t-shirts and swag and they mailed it out to all the participants at the event. Did it take a little bit of elbow grease? Absolutely. But they used the money in a way that was very effective and their participants, found a lot of joy in that. Last year, we turned to digital campaigns and we bought licenses for different digital tools. So if you want to use a platform like Hopin and just use the monthly membership to be able to put on your conference, that's a way that you can spend the money. You can create certificates for your students. You can have marketing and promotional needs. If you need to get an Instagram calendar so you can schedule how you want to market to the students or to the communities that you're looking at. We had a grant last year that did a documentary on the experiences of BIPOC women in higher education, and they used a part of their monies to be able to edit, film and edit, and they paid like a team to be able to do the editing and the filming for them. That was really cool. They also paid each of the speakers who participated in the documentary, and so it made the people who shared their stories feel as if their stories were valuable as well. There's a little bit that goes into that as well. They had 17 people who participated. That's a lot of paperwork. And so just keep that in mind as you are designing the overall event and what you want the event to look like. And then any event or activity resources that you might need, like if your students needed, notebooks and pencils and you wanted to mail those out to them, things like that would be approved by the board as acceptable ways to spend your funding. So let's talk about what we can't actually purchase with our grant monies and what they're not going to reimburse or approve for reimbursal. No alcohol, that's definitely a big one. I know that there was a group last year who was interested in buying decorative wine bottles as a thank you to their speakers. What a beautiful idea. but it won't get approved when it comes down to our foundation. So alcohol is one that we don't approve. We don't approve large equipment purchases. And so that's something to think about. If you're doing filming, we're not going to buy, that new, EOS M50 Canon, professional camera for you to be able to do that. No development of computer networks, no infrastructure improvements, no representation on steering committees, or ongoing events. And so these are single events that we're looking to support. So those are the no-nos that won't get approved. And Joanne, who is our budget analyst, is absolutely amazing. If you ever have any questions about, will this get approved? Like, how can I get this approved? We'll work with you to make sure that you are planning effectively and pragmatically along the way. I know what it's like to spend money on something and then come to find out that, I'm not going to get that $100 back. And I really didn't plan on spending $100 on the institution. So. So one thing that you should know is that our grants are all reimbursable. So you do have to spend the money up front, and that has to be approved, which is one of the reasons why I encourage you to reach out to us and to talk to us in advance about what your ideas are, so that we can make sure that we're guiding you in the right direction and you can get your funds back in an effective manner. The MiraCosta Foundation is responsible for our funds. We have a process that is smooth running. We worked hard to make sure that process is smooth running. And so working with Joanne along the way, we'll make sure that you get reimbursed in a very quick and effective way. Once the paperwork goes in, it's usually 2 weeks after that you get your money back. And so the more organized you are with your paperwork and your budgeting, the easier it will be for us to file your paperwork and get that check to you all. So about that paperwork, Jeffrey, in terms of like, what should I be looking for? You can find all of our paperwork for the grant in any paperwork that you might be to implement your grant project, uploaded on our NCHEASD.com website. And I'll put that in the chat so that you all have our website. This is also where you can find our application. You can find guest speaker forms. You can find the attendance sheets. Gift cards are tricky. You would think that it would not be a tricky thing, but it actually is. And mostly because there are kind of these hidden fees, if you will, for the students who receive gift cards. So first of all, for anybody who receives a gift card, like over a certain dollar amount, I believe it's $25, you have to actually fill out paperwork so that gets documented, and they get their W-9 at the end of the year and so on and so forth. So we keep track of that. There was a competition and they gave several gift cards, and Joanne has set this up. So if you're thinking about gift cards, please click on this, so that you know how it works, because it is a process. Also, you should know that once we know the student specifically received this gift card, we have to report that to financial aid. And so sometimes, depending on the gift card, it could impact a student's financial aid package in a negative way, in a way that we didn't, think. So we just want to give them an award, and then all of a sudden, like, their financial aid is impacted by the $75, gift certificate that we gave them. So gift cards are, yes, they're a possibility, but double check in with Joanne on the best practices to make sure that we can serve the students in a successful way. There's an attendance sheet in there, and then the collaborative grant final report. If you do receive a grant, Joanne will give you information on and the deadline for when that should be turned in, and then walk you through kind of the needs of that. Looking over that before you actually implement the project will help you know kind of how to keep your paperwork organized and what you should report, what kind of notes and details are on there. But we're really looking for the outcomes to see, how many folks came to the actual event, how many people did we serve, what were the overall outcomes, was it successful, so on and so forth. Now, I mentioned this before, and this is my last slide here before I'll open up, the Zoom room for conversation and sharing amongst us, to say that we encourage conversations among colleagues, which means that, if you decide that you want to work on a project with somebody in this room or somebody that you already have a contact with on another campus, we'll totally pay for coffee or a meal for you to get together and to talk about what that project might be like, to put the paperwork together, to just get organized, right? It's our little thank you to say, here's $15 per person. There's a $15 cap per person, and get together, collaborate, get your project in, and hopefully we can serve a larger amount of students by, investing $15 in you to have an awesome meal and conversation with a colleague. So if you're interested in that, you can easily email me and Joanne at ncheasd@gmail.com, and just to tell us, hey, I'm getting together with these partners and we're going to send our receipts, and we'll say, great, we'll be looking forward to hear the outcome of your conversation, send your receipts, and then we'll get that reimbursed to you as well. So it's a pretty simple process. And these days, if you decide to get together face to face, we still support that when it comes to conversations with colleagues, because you are totally adults who can make your own decisions about whether or not, you feel safe, going out, right? And so that's up to you all. We'll support that as well. So I will stop sharing my screen here. And I'm going to put the attendance sheet one more time in the chat so that if anyone came in after we got started, we can still get a chance to acknowledge that you were here with us. And then I'm also going to share a little survey that's an interest form. And we'll use this to help connect folks who are interested in joining partnerships with folks. And so I put that link in the chat for you as well. And what I would love is if you have any questions about the grant, I'll open the floor up so we can, kind of talk about your questions. And then after our questions, we can go around, introduce ourselves, what college you represent, what your ideas are, if you have partnerships, anything that you feel is relevant, like let's figure out how to get that money, right? And get those partnerships created and collaborate and serve our students in the best way possible. So first, any questions about the grant in general? Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, I'm sorry. Actually, I have a list from my group.
I love it.
How often are we allowed to apply?
That's a great question. You are allowed to apply more than once. So if you wanted to apply again, you can. But what we usually say to folks who have already received a grant is that we try to serve those who haven't received the grant first. And then if we have extra funding, then we try to share the wealth. And sometimes if you've applied 3 or 4 times, you might not get it just because you've applied multiple times. And we want to make sure that we support as many faculty, administrators, classified staff, whoever is actually applying for the grant.
So if I'm so sorry, may I keep going?
Of course.
So if we had like a successful event,
yes,
and we could build off of that.
Yes.
It is possible to reapply, but
yes.
Not.
It is possible to reapply. For example, we had a project like the grant director was Edwina Williams from MiraCosta, and they had multiple grants with us. So 2 years in a row, they received grants for us. The first year we awarded them the full grant amount. The second year was a reduced amount, but we were able to kind of have 2 years worth of project like be put into action.
Okay. And then can I ask another one?
I'm just like in a class, I'm sure somebody else might have these questions, so keep them rolling.
If we're hoping to have a relatively large group of faculty, and many from CSUSM would be lecturers,
sure,
and convene on a weekend, are we allowed to give something in the form of stipends to compensate lecturers who wouldn't be sort of getting any other?
It gets a little bit tricky. Joanne would have like the most like precise kind of way to make it happen. My question would be, what would the lecturers be doing? And what would the stipend be for?
Okay.
Hmm.
I think we were thinking just to make it to where they were willing to give up their weekend time to participate in it.
As incentive?
Yeah.
Yes. That's a great question.
I'm gonna call that one iffy.
Yes, I think that one, if you could email that between me and Joanne, because Joanne, as the budget analyst, she knows the inner workings of the budget part. And even though I feel pretty knowledgeable, you would want a very specific way, to do this. And so she'd be able to help with that. If the lecturers were giving some type of 15-minute presentation as a part of a roundtable discussion or participating in a roundtable discussion, that might be a way where they can have a stipend. So that was similar to what the documentary did. They shared their story, they received a $100 stipend. And again, they had a very big group. That was a lot of paperwork, but we did do it successfully and we got all 17 people paid. And so it is possible. We just want to be nuanced with it.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Other questions?
I have a question, like,
Uh-huh.
is there like an amount allowed per speaker, or how does that work?
I think it's totally up to you all. Our maximum amount for the grant is $3,000. If you wanted to use the entire WAP on the speaker, that would be, your grant project's choice. And I guess it depends on how big the speaker is. We know that speaker fees can get thousands of dollars. And you can also find some great speakers who are willing to speak for a couple $100. And so there's a range there, and it would be totally up to you all. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Also regarding, like, for example, if you have some assistance from a student, can you pay per hour the student, or this would be
No.
something? No, okay,
Yeah.
so not for students, just that would be like the gift card or something.
Yes, gift cards are also tricky. The payment period for anybody's salary to do the project, no, they won't approve that. Stipends for, like giving type of like, presentations, that will likely get approved, kind of like speaker fees. For the students, you might want to think creatively. Like what we did for our group is we did DIY tools for online environments. We got them mini tripods and, Bluetooth, like, stop and go remotes and ring lights, we gave them as thank yous or as prizes, so it falls under swag, which will be proved a lot easier. And another thing about paying our students directly is that will impact their financial aid again. And so trying to protect the funding that they already are getting is one of the things that we want to do as well.
Okay, all right.
It's a great question. So I'd love to hear from you all, kind of like what motivated you to come and seek information about the grant. Is there a project that you're thinking about? Do you all have a partnership? Where are you? What are you thinking? Let's share out a little bit. And I feel like I should pick somebody, but I'm just going to let you volunteer and then popcorn around the room. All right, CLS.
So first off, the email came from you, so I definitely wanted to come see what you had to say, but I saw grant, I saw event, I saw cross campus, and I am at Miracosta and Palomar, and I have this idea, but I don't think it'll work based on
Sure.
the parameters. But I wanted to do something that would involve an open mic, that would involve guest speakers, that would involve both speech and sign language, though I'm noticing that might not be the best for CSUSM. So it would have to be broader than just speech and sign. So something cultural and performative. And then of course, I always have the idea to do like, debaters from class, right? Just like not on the forensics team, but do a cross campus, like intramural kind of deal. So those are kind of the ideas I have going, but I don't have partners at this point, and I wasn't even sure exactly what everything was. So this has been very informative. Thank you.
I think that both of those ideas are actually really doable, even in a digital environment. We've seen the online open mics happen very successfully. I've even been in a couple of presentations where they've had the online sign language alongside the performance. So I know that's possible. You can pay guest speakers to be a part of these, to bring in outside poets. And the debate from classes, like, let's get the comm studies department. Maybe I'm a little biased here being from comm studies, but I'm like, let's get them together and figure out how we could do it. It's possible. I hope that you filled out the survey, because that will help us to figure out who we can ask to join together and maybe have a conversation about a potential partnership. So those are really great.
I feel like I need to fill it out again because my ideas have sort of changed since I listened to the presentation.
Fill it out as many times as you need.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
I can go next.
Thanks, Leah.
Yes, okay. Well, I teach, I am an adjunct at Palomar College. I teach general biology, but I also work at UC Cooperative Extension. And during the last 3 years, we had a project on pollinators. And I thought it would be super nice to organize a meeting and share the information we have acquired with the students. So for now, our research plot was at Palomar, but you know, if we organize a meeting, I thought we could definitely invite students from Miracosta, particularly from the horticulture department. So at this point, I only have ideas.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else. I was just, you know, thinking of ways to continue and to get involved more students of my classes or other classes. And yeah, so basically I thought if this grant would cover some of the speakers, we could share our findings, share the, you know, information we got about pollinators in ornamental plants, which is very, well, it would be great. And then perhaps that would, you know, inspire students from the other institutions as well. And we could find more funds. At this point, our project is about to end, but it would be a very good way to end it. So that's what I thought.
This is just a curiosity question for me, but is there any conversation between pollination and sustainability?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And
then I think that I know a good connection who might be, they have a student group and your student group from Miracosta, and I know that we may have a contact at CSU San Marcos. And so please, I hope you put that inside of the survey as well, and we can do an introduction, and maybe that can jumpstart a conversation.
Maybe we can, yes, just to figure out who we could collaborate. So the collaboration would be just to involve the students in the meeting or something like that. Oh, okay, yes, no, I will think about that. And I'm not sure if probably we should apply until April or
sure,
but we'll.
Yes, it's a quick turnaround. We know. But if the conversation and the introduction could get made, then you all can all decide, you know, how quickly you want to work, because
yes,
it's a little bit of a process.
Okay, no, thank you.
Lovely. All right, thank you, Leah.
So the deadline is November 1st. Do you have a deadline for spring as well, or is it just once a year?
April 1st.
Okay, great.
Any other volunteer introductions? Elizabeth.
Hi, good morning. So thank you so much for doing this presentation. I actually just, I was a little late, so I missed a lot of the beginning of that meeting, but I'll definitely go back and review the presentation. I think, well, I have collaborated with a few of my colleagues at Palomar, Dr. Angela Kong, right now. Like we're just like in the idea phase.
Sure.
She's with the service learning, and then with Jason Dravanen, he's with the CTE.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so we're thinking about, you know, in terms of like this need, right, and for our scholars. And we talked about our own personal experience with like trying to find mentoring, you know, like craving that mentorship, right? And so if it's difficult, you know, for us as professionals to even find like a mentor, we can only imagine how much more difficult it might be for our scholars to find and identify mentors. And so then we were thinking about like in the lines of like the mentoring, like the nuts and bolts, right? Like maybe inviting like a guest speaker on like how to increase our self-confidence, number one, right? Because oftentimes that's something that we're not comfortable with, right? And then also like maybe having, I like that idea of like that guest lecturer experience, like how to find a mentor, like questions to ask. And then also we're thinking along the lines of, you know, finding that good fit, because even though, you know, yeah, so just fit in general with our cultural backgrounds and so forth, and then our specific professions that we want to identify for our scholars. So yeah, so we're just kind of in that planning phase, still not really sure how to best implement this idea and this project, you know, and then, you know, for future, right? It's like, how do we grow that alumni network, right?
Yeah.
And then how to implement that mentoring at our campus. And then is there already like a great mentoring program that exists at one of our other sister colleges, right? And that they're doing a really good job with that, and that they have a robust network of people that they can identify with. So anyways, that's where we're at. And I'm really hoping to be able to find some assistance with that.
So I have a couple of questions in terms of, first, your audience. Is there a specific demographic of students that you want to reach out to?
We're just wanting to open it up to all scholars.
Okay. And then second, is Jason with the Career Center Services? Do I remember that correctly?
No, CTE.
Oh, okay. That's right. That's right. And then Angela is with which department?
Service learning.
Okay. Then what I think would be cool is if we try to connect you with our service learning coordinator, who is super active, has a lot of outreach programs, who might be able to, one, like be interested in partnership, or kind of talk a little bit about different models that might have been used for mentoring. I love this idea. And I asked about the demographics specifically because if you were focused on first generation students, and there are contacts within our first generation community that we can connect you with. If you're focused on DI students, if you're focused on vets, those type of kind of targeted, you know, questions, you know, will help me to figure out where I can connect partners with. But off top, I think maybe we can connect you with our service learning coordinator, and that might be a good jumping point.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then I guess when we're talking about like specific populations, like, yes, we were definitely thinking about like first gen and DE, but I think because we don't want to exclude anyone, right? Like, but yeah, so.
Another idea is to maybe not, you know, a target in that way, but career oriented in terms of, you know, it's mentoring, you know, then there's career center contacts that, you know, we can connect you with as well, who, you know, there's students out there trying to figure out the professional development part, they need a mentor, and then this type of programming might work for them.
I really definitely like all of those ideas. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Then I'm gonna make sure that and then did you get the survey as well?
Yes, I saw the link. I was waiting to kind of chat before I actually did the survey. So yes, I will definitely do that.
Great. And I'm taking notes as well, but if you all definitely fill the survey out, that will help me stay organized in the digital world. And then I can make clearer connections along the way. I love the idea. It's really cool.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to share out?
Yeah, I can go.
All right.
So hello, everyone. I'm Lisette. I'm an assistant professor of English at Palomar College. And I have been a student or a professor at all three campuses. So I'm super excited at the prospect of just, creating community. Something I wish had been there when I was a student at Palomar, to know about what was happening at Cal State. So I don't have anything too specific, but very broadly, I'm interested in the arts and just the power of collaborative arts to create community and bring together a community. So, one of my areas is theater and performance, but yeah, like open mic, poetry, something. So that's one aspect. I'm also on the Pride Center committee. So I would think it'd be awesome to connect with the other Pride Centers, the other campuses. I know MiraCosta has an amazing social justice center. So that's another vein. Not that there couldn't be overlap, but those are kind of the two things I'm thinking about for very broadly, very preliminarily.
Well, on my screen, you're sitting right next to CLS. And so I feel like that's a strong connection that might be great. Plus, there's two schools right there that are already represented. So CLS could represent MiraCosta, you can represent Palomar, and then we'd only need to find a third person who I'm sure we can find an artistic, or, social justice person, contact at CSU San Marcos who might be willing to participate. So there are seeds that are there, and then we can definitely connect you with Jody over here at the SJAC, who they have a ton of really great resources. And so that there's a lot there. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Lizette, did you comment on a performance last semester? That's what I know you from.
Yeah,
we did the anti-racist created performance with Michael Muffson. Yes.
That's right. Yeah, I remember you now.
I'm like,
yes.
You look familiar. Yes. Okay,
awesome.
we should talk.
Great.
I can go next.
Thanks, Christy.
Hi, I'm an adjunct faculty member here at Palomar, and I'm here representing the Palomar Black Faculty and Staff Association.
Nice.
We are brainstorming for our Black History Month coming up, and we were throwing out ideas of how we could collaborate with the different networks, schools, and see how we could increase our support for Black students at Palomar, increase our numbers, possibly make up or start to formulate a Black student union if the numbers are there, we get the support, things of that nature. So we were thinking about some kind of collaboration where we could reach out to MiraCosta or through San Marcos campus and see how they were able to start theirs and how do they have such a great network, and how could we take some of those ideas and bring it to Palomar to increase our numbers. And then once we get our numbers up, how do we retain the students?
Yep.
Because we do have some students that they start out there and then they move to MiraCosta or go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So how can we keep our numbers at Palomar? How can we get the interest there? What support can we give the students to keep them there and track the students as they progress with their goals, things of that number, just to make sure that we have a presence in the community. So we were just trying to see how the grant writing process worked. How could we use your guidelines to push our efforts?
Of course.
Things of that nature. So I was here gaining knowledge so I can take back to our meeting on Tuesday.
First, I want to say I'm so excited that you all are growing your Black Faculty and Staff Association. I know that it's a heavy investment. MiraCosta's Black Alliance has only been in action for the last couple of years. And so we're super invested in creating regional relationships. So first, the grant is a great opportunity for you to figure out how to invest specifically in the Black students on your campus. I would encourage your Black Faculty Association to really focus in on, let's use this $3,000 to encourage our Black students to get together and collaborate, and less on, and I say this like, regionally we'll grow together, you can bring them together, but to focus on the student part for that. And then I would say, please use us or allow NCHEA to be a way to bring the Black Alliance partners at MiraCosta, at CSU San Marcos, and Palomar into a conversation with colleagues. That's a bigger, more roundtable type discussion where you all could just get to know each other, right? Like, don't write a grant for that purpose. We'll do that for free. That's like, let's just get together and you guys can talk. And we'll be happy to help organize that. We've done that for different departments, different disciplines, different kind of groups who, are interested in talking about something specific. So we have this semester alone, we've done credit for prior learning, we've done ethnic studies and social justice, the ADT, trying to figure out how to strengthen our pipelines. So we can do a Black Alliance regional conversation, hold a Zoom meeting, and get you all together in the same room. Then from there, then you can get your partners together. You can figure out who the movers and shakers are on each campus, and you all can work on putting that grant together. But if that is something of interest to you, email me directly and I will help put that into action, because that's something that we do and we want to do for you all.
And you said the conversations are ongoing. It's not like, okay.
Yeah, the conversations can be ongoing. We're happy to help take the lead with organizing, because it is all 3 campuses. But once you all get your emailing list together, you can take it over on your own and make it as often as you want. But we do want to encourage the regional conversation. And so we offer that initial kind of, let's bring you all together if we can.
Okay, thank you.
So awesome. So Jeffrey, Amanda, Leslie, did y'all have ideas?
I can jump in and share. I think where I'm at right now is I have a lot of ideas, so I'm hoping that I filled out the form and got all that stuff on there, but I'll go ahead and introduce who I am and kind of what my thoughts are. So I work at the Writing Center at Cal State San Marcos. Yes. My focus is, so my job title is Academic English Language Specialist, which is just kind of a fancy way of saying I help English language learners, students who may be struggling with the writing requirement that we've got at Cal State San Marcos, that kind of thing. And my husband transferred recently as a vet student from Palomar to Cal State San Marcos. So I've seen the positives and the negatives of the transfer process there, with watching that happen. And we've also had a lot more transfer students showing up in the Writing Center this semester as compared with what we've seen in the past. So it's a good thing. We're glad that they're looking for that support. Some of the things I'm kind of passionate about are supporting science writing. I know that, for example, there's a lot of STEM students who think, I'm going to major in STEM so I don't have to write. And then Cal State San Marcos and find out that we've got the writing requirement that you have to write equivalent of 10 pages in all of your 3 credit hour classes. So I know that support is needed, but I don't think it's just needed here. I think it's needed broadly. I've also worked with the Dreamer Resource Office quite a bit. And that kind of got me thinking about groups who need financial aid but may not qualify for the FAFSA. So helping them prepare for the personal statements that they may have for those other scholarships that are out there other than, I know that we've got one application here at Cal State San Marcos for the general scholarship and they get matched. But if you're a formerly incarcerated individual, depending on what you went through, if you're an undocumented student, you may not qualify for a lot of those options. So making sure that they're well supported to get the financial aid that does exist out there. So yeah, those are just some of my ideas that I've got at this stage.
It's great. It's great. Yes. I'm like, who do I know in the sciences that I might be able to connect her with? Actually, there are a couple folks that we do know. And so I'll look over the form to kind of look at the ideas that, you targeted, and we'll see what we can do. But I'm happy that you're sharing. And I know that there needs to be stronger writing in all of our disciplines. And so any way we can figure out how to bring that to the students, especially those that are disenfranchised in different ways, like we're going to support that. Very cool. And congratulations on your husband transferring successfully. It's a process.
It is a process, and unfortunately, we're not going to get done in 4 years total, but that's okay. Thanks to the GI Bill, we'll be fine. But yes, it is a process.
Yes. Right. Great.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Morales. I am the Engineering Pathways Advisor here at Cal State San Marcos. I'm also a GEL 101 or first time freshman lecturer, specifically for a STEM learning community.
Nice.
So I help build the software engineering and electrical engineering major program that we have here on campus. And now we received a new HSI STEM grant that will kind of do the same thing, but broadly with all of STEM majors. So I'm super excited to get involved with that, doing the same things about building kind of like an ecosystem for specific STEM majors, right? But my idea was doing more of a mixer. And I know you mentioned it was probably best to do a virtual conference of some sort, which is probably easier and safer. I'm crossing my fingers that next semester, somehow, some way, you might be able to be doing something like having a physical presence back on campuses. So that is something that I was really interested in, especially across all of STEM, because we weren't able to do our regular meet and greets and bringing professionals in. I really wanted to do something like that with STEM or just engineering. So working with student orgs across all campuses. I've had close contacts with the transfer center at Maricosta with Ms. Blockton. I know she does a lot of recruitment and outreach. So I help her out in that way, being that CSUS rep, but also some of the CS and physics faculty at Maricosta. Not so much with Palomar, so that's why I think sending some of these ideas out would be really helpful for us to make something happen. Again, students are missing that physical presence, right? Everyone has to do this 180 for 2 years now, and it's like we're missing this. We're people, right? And we're missing that component. I could only imagine how much of a bridge and a stepping stone it would be for students across all of our campuses to have to regain that presence and build a sense of community and belonging from the get-go. So that's like my idea. I don't know if it's a possibility to make it a meaningful experience online, maybe, but we'll see.
I'll think, well, one, I'm a leaner into innovation. And so the digital is my wheelhouse. I'm happy to talk about how to make kind of like mixers as interactive as possible so that it is a meaningful experience if you chose to, apply early and have to participate in this digital world. But I would say check back with us like in March to see if our application shifts, because what we're really thinking is that we need to take this very slow and let our campuses lead the way. And so as we get through the holiday season and we know if there's going to be any new mutant variants that happen, and if our campuses do roll out so that we are at 50% or higher, then that gives us kind of more insight on what the fall is going to look like. And if you apply for a grant, you do have up to a year to actually use your grant funds. So you might apply in April, get approved, and you may not do your event until November of the next year, and we might be at 80% on campus and supporting face-to-face grants again. So all things are possible. It just depends on kind of what direction you want to lean in. If you want to wait a little bit, find some partners. Lisa's amazing. She sits on our board. She has contacts like nobody's business. Like she will be a good resource for us to find partners at Palomar, partners at Maricosta. But yes, like I don't think it's out of the game. We're out of the game in terms of what your vision is. It sure will be nice when we're at 100%, we can go anywhere again. It's like being on restriction. All right, I know Heather had questions. Leslie, did you have an idea?
Yeah, I think I'm the last one to go. I was
So
just gonna share what piqued my interest to come today.
cool.
So last May, I collaborated with the DRO at Cal State San Marcos and also Uprise at Miracosta College for
Yep.
an undocumented student graduation.
Yep.
And it was the first time that all three of us had partnered up to put an event like that together and online, which is totally different, right?
Yep.
Than in person. And so with that, we put in an application for the NCHEA grant. But now, like learning about the requirements and guidelines and everything, we had applied in May, so totally past the deadline. So that's why we didn't get approved or get a response for it. But it kind of started, getting our wheels turning, and we were thinking, well, what other things can we do, collaborate together? And one idea that, really sparked my interest was we have another organization at Palomar College called ALAS, similar to the Black Faculty Association that was mentioned earlier. And so we have this event that we've been presenting yearly for like the past 10 years. But it's very sporadic because the biggest thing is funding for it. And what we really target is first generation college students. And it's a night for the family to come out, get resources, and create that pipeline from K through 12 to higher education. But things just pack such a bigger punch when there's multiple people involved in it. And so I just thought, funding is available through here. It would be great to partner with Miracosta and Cal State San Marcos and, continue doing that. The one thing that I was thinking about with the requirements is that you can't apply for this if it's a continuous event. So I was wondering, would that qualify as a continuous event or not?
Well, we would consider it a single event, and you would have to use our funds for that one event. Now, whether you chose to redo it again in the future is totally up to you. So I think it would be fine.
Okay. Yeah, great.
I think both of those ideas are fine, even if you wanted to recycle the application that you all put in previously, because you already put in that work, but we weren't able to review it because it was outside of our application period. That's perfectly okay too. Both of these sound great. And I know first gen populations are huge target areas for all three of our campuses.
Yes. And I know, Jeffrey, we kind of talked about how right now we're targeting Zoom type of events. And so the thought process for this would be like an in-person event. So you're saying it might be best to apply later on or next year for it?
Yeah, I think we're of course going to have another one of these in March. And then our application deadline is April 1st. And so that would be a good time to check back with us to see if we have made any alterations to kind of our requirements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Of course. These are all really great ideas. So I want to make sure that you all know, you're on the right track in terms of thinking about different projects and how to best serve the students, how to create regional relationships. These all sound great. And I have notes and you all filled out the survey. And so next steps are really just about either finding partnerships if you don't have those partnerships, and building on your ideas and trying to get nuance to figure out what you want to invest your time in, and then meet the deadline, and we'll be able to review those. The deadline is the 1st, and I think that the Friday, November 5th is the date that we get together and meet. And so let's see, November 1st, you'll submit, November 5th, the board will get together, and then within like a week of the board getting together, you'll receive information from me on whether or not you received a grant award or not. But this is super encouraging. My personal goal was to really invest in sharing the grant information because, again, you know, COVID hit. We didn't do anything with that money because there was nothing, you know, that we could, everybody was adjusting, you know, and trying to figure out how to make things happen. So we have a sizable amount of funds. And if we can help build your resumes and serve our students simultaneously, then that's what we want to do. And so that's my goal this year, is to make sure that we get as many grant applications in and approved as possible. So my email, I'm going to put in the chat for everyone. Know that I'm a resource and that I do answer my emails. Joanne Gonzalez is our budget analyst. So if you have any specifics about the budget, you can send it to NCHEA@gmail.com. And she will answer any specific budget questions that you might have. Our website has all the application materials. You can download that onto your own Google Drive, onto your desktop. And I'm just looking forward to kind of reviewing your applications and seeing what we come up with. Any final questions before I let y'all go for the weekend? All right.
Can you put Joanne's spelling of her name correctly in the chat, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. It was very helpful.
Oh, I'm so glad we didn't do these last year. And so it was our idea that we actually have just an hour informal, let's just talk and make sure that everybody feels comfortable and confident in applying, especially when we don't really know what tomorrow is going to look like. And so I'm glad that it was useful and valuable to you all. Thanks, Elizabeth. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It was very useful.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have seen the application many times, but I didn't even know if that was a possibility. So now I have a better idea.
Yes. I'm going to post the recording as well so that this information is reviewable. And if you have any other questions, you have it, available to you all. And so email me, check out our website, and then I look forward to getting your proposals sometime this year. So, all right, my friends, have a good weekend.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.